right now. Maybe you can tell me something just for the entrance, a bit to the history of Sleep Chamber.
Okay. Sleep Chamber started in October of 1982, and as you might imagine, it wasn't taken very seriously because there was still a lot of punk, very popular. It started more as an experimental type music, and it grew very quickly into more of an erotic image and philosophy. And if you're going to stand outside and alone from what everybody else is doing, you are obviously an individual, so it took an individual stance. And from my persistence, it seemed to pay off more once people noticed I was not going to go away. And it just gradually kept growing, and it's still growing now. The popularity and the image and everything else that goes along with Sleep Chamber.
Radio Chaos, the opening track of Sleeping Sickness, sounds a bit like a bizarre manifesto. You say there, Sleep Chamber is more than a name, it's an attitude, it is in a consciousness, it's a philosophy. You say there, what would you describe as the philosophy of Sleep Chamber?
The philosophy of Sleep Chamber is my personal philosophy, my own set of rules, regulations, limitations, inhibitions, curiosities, fantasies. They're all personally mine, and I'm not interested in being a leader for other people's sexuality or individuality. I only speak for myself.
One of the main themes, or the main theme of Sleep Chamber, is sex and the bizarre or so-called perverted form of sexualities. Why are you so obsessed with this theme?
I find the topic of sex to be more, for me, eroticism, and I'm somewhat curious into the field of fetishism, which people might classify some fetishes to be perverted, but personally I find fetishism to be just sexual games, nothing that harms anyone. I think a perversion might be harmful to somebody, where fetishism is not really harmful. It's just sexual games. And even maybe I am more than more than average sexual interests, but again, I like to clarify that I'm speaking for myself, and if I am obsessed with eroticism or the female, it is me personally.
There's quite a tradition now beginning to evolve in electronic music. There are bands like Deform or Sabotage Qu'est-ce que c'est from Frankfurt, who are very much involved in this theme. I think Deform is one of the eldest groups that have practiced or have experimented with this theme for 10 years now nearly. Do you see yourself in one school or one line with these bands?
I started actually before Deform, and I've actually released material on my label some time ago by Deform. I think it's different. They seem to be more into sadomasochism, where I feel like I'm more into eroticism, which I think there's a very big difference there. And it's just everybody's personal preference or personal taste. Musically, I'm not familiar enough with Deform, but from what I understand, they're Europe's version of Sleep Chamber.
I've learned that you are friends, or used to be friends, with Genesis P. Orange and Psychic TV. One can draw parallels because of the themes you're involved in and the writing, like the OV, using words like off. Do you see these parallels, and how are your relationships to Psychic TV?
This is the most common question always asked in an interview. Our philosophies are very similar, but in a way they're not. I mean, I'm friends with Genesis Peerage and some of these members of Psychic TV. I find him to be more of an intellectual than myself. He's interested in other things that I'm not interested in, but I do see a lot of parallels, and I think it's just coincidental, because people always associate the mutated grammar or spelling, and the only intention that I use in mutated grammar or spelling is to again clarify my individuality from society in general. I wish to be more of a private and personal person, and that's why I use mutated grammar.
So there's no deep meaning behind it. In a way.
It's just to make it more personal, to make it mine instead of society's.
What about these magic kind of things that Psych TV deal quite a lot with?
With the occultism of
Yeah.
magic and see, occultism is like sexuality. It's a very hard thing to just say very easily. It's a form of a belief system of knowledge and perception and even state of mind, you know. And once you become involved in certain types of occultism, you must come to an honest point with yourself and not play games. You know, it's not rock and roll. When you become involved in more serious levels of consciousness, you have to deal with yourself.
Sleep Chamber is definitely no rock and roll band. It's never been. Is it a band anyway? You once said that Sleep Chamber is more a concept than a band.
Yes, it's more of a concept than a band. I'm not interested in rock and roll or the ideology that goes with rock and roll. I prefer Sleep Chamber to be more of a concept where it can be looked at differently and maybe more openly and studied more openly than rock and roll would be.
You perform live quite a lot, and I think this aspect is very important to Sleep Chamber. How important is the musical side actually?
The musical side is as important as the live performance, but we seem to have a lot more power in entertaining live and more than in the music. The music seems to be very selective in who likes it, and I think the reason why it's more selective is because it's more personal. And the live shows are personal too, but they seem to appeal to a greater audience than the music does.
Tell me about the Barbiturates. They play a big part, I think, in your live performance. I haven't seen the videos yet or any performance by you. So what is happening there, and how did you get them together, and what is their role to play in the performance?
About 2 years ago, I started to incorporate female dancers in the music, and it progressed into more of a theatrical or burlesque style of entertainment. And the more positive the response was in live performances, the more choreographing and energy I put into establishing the Barbiturates. They act out the song which I might be singing about. If it's a song about a particular fetish, they will act that out. If it's a song about a broken heart, they will act it out. But it's all done very burlesque style. And I mean, this was just a concept I came up with, and it was very successful live.
Yeah. I think the performance, just judging it by the photos, I think is quite open or very shocking.
I don't know about shocking. I mean, maybe I'm desensitized, but I think it's. I mean, when I used to be on the stage, my band was very minimal. They would not have much energy, and everyone said, "You're the only energy up there. You're doing everything." So then, when I brought the girls in, they brought even more energy to a live performance. To me, to people who are not used to it, I guess it might be kind of shocking. I don't think it's totally shocking. I mean, some shows could be more intense than others sexually. But we do a lot of shows that are not too strong, if you know what I mean. They're not too sexual. Suggestive, maybe, but not.
How does the public react, or how do you want the public to react? Are they just voyeurs, or do you want them to be involved in this kind of...
No, I would prefer them to be voyeurs, which pretty much they are. There has been very little participation as far as the audience is concerned. And when you play punk clubs, and when you play rock clubs, and when you play fetish halls, I never know how the audience is going to respond. And when you have 8 to 10 females on stage dressed very sexy, or maybe even them partially nude, it's always a concern whether there'll be somebody who'll jump up on the stage. So I do educate the girls not to make eye contact with the audience and not to have any kind of audience participation, and so far it has worked. I haven't worried about anybody climbing up yet.
What is your relationship to the girls? Do you dictate them, or how to behave?
It's not a total dictatorship. I tell them what the theme of the song is about, and I give them total freedom of what they want to do. They come to me and they show me, and if I think it's proper, we go with it, which is pretty much how it goes.
Do you have problems when you perform? I remember the film, for example, always have problems with the performances because a lot of women's lip fighters think that their performance is against women.
Right.
Do you have the same problems? And,
Yes.
and how do you deal with these misunderstandings?
I haven't had any problems in the live performances, but in the press, or if I'm out at a club or in a coffee shop, they come right up to me, and the thing that is to their disadvantage is that they're very defensive, and I've been defending my sexuality for 10 years now, so I'm very patient and I can explain myself very easily. I also explain to them that they're insulting the women on the stage who are doing what they want to do, and when you say they're being exploited, these women get very angry because the women on my stage are doing what they want to do, so how can it be violence against themselves if they like to do it?
Coming back to the music, one track I like very much is your cover version of Madonna's Justify My Love. Madonna also deals a lot with sex and is accepted in the way she does it, maybe because she's so popular. What do you think, or what do you like about her, and what are the reasons you covered this song?
When that video came out, there was a lot of controversy in America. So obviously I went right down and bought the video and watched it. And I noticed her style of singing was very close to the way I sing. It's almost spoken. It was black and white film, and it was slightly, it was very erotic to me and suggestive. And I thought to myself, this reminds me of a lot of my own style. So I thought, what could be better than to sort of say, this is, I admire your video and your song, and sort of do a cover version of it.
Your music in general is very rhythmic, or very rhythm-based. Is there a special reason for it, or does it fit to the themes you're dealing with?
I like different styles of music. I don't like particular types of bands or groups of music. I like all kinds. So if people study Sleep Chamber enough, they'll notice there's different styles. There's the esoteric ritual style music. There's almost a rock beat or rhythmic beat, and we're even in the process of doing sort of lounge music. So I don't like to be tied down to any one particular style of music. I like to do all kinds.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything to add?
No. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. What?
Look at you. Look at how big you are. Huh? Huh?